thank you very much for taking your evening to come out. I was driving through a torrential downpour earlier and was hoping that it would end before this meeting so more people would come. But I'm glad that you all are here. My name is Mark Holland, Mayor Mark Holland, and I want to give a few thank yous before we get started. First, I want to thank our volunteer moderator, Cindy Cash, is helping out tonight. And I also want to thank all of the facilitators who you see around the stands. Can facilitators wave? We want to say thanks to all the facilitators who are going to help with the listening session tonight. I also want to thank the CABA, the Central Avenue Betterment Association, and Armourdale Renewal Association for your help getting this put together. Your work in getting the word out about this has been instrumental. We've been utilizing the neighborhood groups to share the information and to help get people here. And the other piece is, we have 8 of these, and you're invited to come to as many of those as you want. And if you miss the one that's in your district per se, you can certainly go to another one. And so while we advertise them only in each district that we're going to, we've advertised the whole list to everyone. So if you know someone that says, oh, I wish I could have been there, let them know that there's another one coming and that they can be a part of it. So I just appreciate the neighborhood groups helping to get the word out and for everyone to take time to come today. I'm going to introduce the commissioners who are here. Commissioner Townsend is the District 1 commissioner, and she helped host the first one. And so she said, boy, these are fun, I'm going to keep coming. So thank you for coming. Also, we have our in-district commissioner, Commissioner Brian McKiernan, and we also have Commissioners Walker and Bynum. Walker is the in-district at-large, and Bynum is the out-of-district at-large. But I'm going to invite each of you to come forward for a minute and just say a word if you would like to here at the podium.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have everybody here. I see a great number of familiar faces here in the audience. A lot of people that work together with me, with us, to make our neighborhood better on a daily and a weekly basis. We're working on housing, we're working on new businesses, we're working on our avenues, Minnesota and Central and Kansas Avenue. And I have to thank you for all your work. And tonight is not a time to listen to me. Tonight is a time to listen to you. We have an opportunity maybe to shape our work, maybe to take it a little further than we dreamed it could go. Maybe to do some things that we didn't think were possible. So tonight's a time to brainstorm and dream and see what we might be able to do with these new resources to make our neighborhoods and our city a better place to live and work and play. So I look forward to the conversation. We're going to have great fun tonight.
Good evening and welcome. I won't be here to make any speech, but we're excited about finally being able to return to the public in some way the money that we have generated from the sales tax in the western part of the county. I mean, there's some clearly obvious choices for how to spend that money or actually save that money perhaps. There are some other ideas that we're looking to hear. In the end, the money belongs to you, and we want to spend it how to best serve the people of the entire county, whether that be curbs and sidewalks or a public swimming pool or just cut taxes or perhaps put it in what we call the reserve fund, the piggy bank, and build that up so that we have the ability to avoid raising taxes when there's a downturn in the economy. So I'm here to listen to you, and I want to hear from the various groups so we can forge a consensus throughout the community of how best to handle this long awaited return of our investment. Thank you.
Good evening. My My name's Melissa Bynum. I would like you to know that today is my 2-month anniversary of being a member of the Unified Government Commission. So I just want you to know it's all under control. We are really happy you're here. That is really all that I wanted to say. I attended District 1. It was excellent, and it motivated me, frankly, to attend as many of these as I can, and hopefully that will be all 8. We are delighted that you're here. We really look forward to hearing your comments. And just one more thing, I'd like to point out that your in-district elected Register of Deeds is here, Nancy Burns.
And you had to walk 4 blocks, Nancy, to get down here?
Bill made me drive.
Okay, it's Bill's fault that you had to drive. I understand. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff. I want to thank Jason Banks, who is here, Maureen Mahoney, Lindsay Begum, Rachel Botello, Bill Hurlbrink, Jasmine Holmes, Jason Banks. So I want to thank everyone for for their help, because without the work of the staff, there would be no way that this could have been done. There's a lot of logistics to go into this. I want to thank our building and logistics crew at the UG, and I want to thank the school district for opening this beautiful school. How many of you, this is the first time in this beautiful school? Isn't this great? I mean, District 500 has really put a good foot forward in terms of taking the opportunity. The old McKinley School just wasn't up to the next generation, and so this is a great new asset in this community and is going to help continue to drive value here. So I want to frame this evening a little bit. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The STAR bonds are sales tax revenue bonds. That's where the STR comes from. The STAR bonds are sales tax revenue bonds that were used to help develop Village West. The state of Kansas is one of the few states in the entire nation that has this economic development tool. And what it is as stores like Nebraska Furniture Mart, Cabela's, the stores at the Legends, all of those stores make sales, they collect sales tax. And that sales tax was used as an incentive to drive into the cost of developing that property out there. So all of the development out at Village West has been paying property tax all along. So they pay right now $17 million annually in property tax that has been an ongoing benefit to the city. That helps pay for police and fire. It helps pay for sewers and other city services that we have. It's been a great benefit. There's only one entity out west that does not pay any sales tax, or any property tax. Can you guess which group that is? The racetrack. The Speedway was the first one in, and it's the only one that does not pay any property tax. Everyone else is a property tax paying entity. To give you an idea about the Village West property, before this development, that property brought in about $200,000 annually in property taxes. And for retail and jobs, we had a gas station, a liquor store, and a Kentucky Fried. And all the jobs and sales tax that went with that. Now, that area has over 9,000 jobs, many of them Wyandotte County residents. It has an enormous sales potential, more than $650 million in annual sales, generating about $60 million in property tax, or sales tax. That sales tax, the lion's share of it, about 2/3 of it, is the state's portion. And the best part about STAR bonds is the majority of the money is the state's money, which is why, as mayor, I'm a huge fan of STAR bonds, because 2/3 of every project that uses it spends the state sales tax. And then our sales tax is the remainder. So when these bonds pay off next year, they're due to be paid off in 2020 or 2021. They're paying off early, and because of the success of the development, we're going to receive our portion of that $60 million in sales tax that is ours, is about $12 million. And so that's money that we will have to directly invest. So what we need to talk about is what to do with that resource. A lot of communities, particularly in Johnson County, have had sales tax for a long time to offset their property tax needs. And so you might notice that Johnson County has lower property tax because they have a lot of sales tax that pushes that down. So one of the options that we could do is we could put some of this money into property tax reduction and try to balance the tax burden on the citizens and against property tax and sales tax, both, instead of we're very heavily tied to property tax right now because we just haven't had the retail sales tax for so long. So this is a new opportunity for us, and we need to hear from you what we need to do and how we find a balance. We have, you're going to see a survey that we're going to ask you to fill out, and Cindy Cash is going to explain that to you. But we're going to ask you to fill that out in terms of how you want to balance it. Now, I want to give you a framework of, and this is something we've been talking at the commission about for a long time, and it's the difference between spending money once and spending it multiple times. So I'll give you an example from your home. So when you, if you went out and bought a car cash for $1,000, you would own that car and the repairs that would come with it. But you would own that car outright, and it would be a one-time cash expenditure. If you went to the dealer and bought a brand new car, and bought a fancy car, and it cost you $1,000 a month, right, to have a car payment, you've committed that $1,000 every single month for 5 or 6 years, right? Whereas if you bought it with cash once, you're done. The same thing applies in this. If we take money, any money that we take and apply towards property tax is money that we spent forever, because that's once you reduce that property tax rate, that money, however many $1 million, $1 million, $5 million, however much we decide, we've spent forever, and so the next year we have the balance. So say I'm just going to make this number up. Say we commit 2 of the $12 million to property tax reduction. The next year we have $10 million in sales tax, but that 2 is committed over time. The same thing is true when we put money into cost of living increases for employees. If you commit $1 million or $2 million to employee cost of living increases, you've committed that money over time, because that's a cost of living increase, it's a percentage, and it carries on, so you don't get to spend that money again the next year. Money that you put into restoring fund balances, putting into savings, if you will, into our general fund balance, that money is money that not only would it be there for us to spend on a rainy day, but the next year we'd have that same. Say we put $5 million into fund balance, into savings essentially. That'd be a one-time expenditure because we wouldn't be committing that $5 million every year, so you could spend it again. You with me? If we build a street for $5 million, now let's take an example. State Avenue, have you seen how beautiful State Avenue is? Basically from, I want to say from 47th Street all the way west to 94th Street. The last section of that from 83rd Street to 94th Street, just that 2-mile stretch, about 2 miles, that was a $4 million project. That's a lot of money. If you do that with cash, the next year you can do another $4 million project, and so on. If you debt finance it and you commit to debt, you've spent it forever. So one of the things I want you to think about as you're looking at your list tonight is I want you to think about, is this a one-time expenditure that we can spend again next year, or is it a permanent commitment of the funds that we can't use? Does that make sense? All right, so that's the balance we're trying to find. The other piece I want to talk about how Wyandotte County came to have high property taxes, and this is explanation, not excuse. But I think it's a very interesting story. In 1960, we had 185,000 people in Wyandotte County. We were the largest city in the state of Kansas City, Kansas was the largest city in the state of Kansas. And we were 20% above the median household income from the state. From 1960 to 2000, and this is true in every urban area in America, not just Kansas City, Kansas, but we were certainly the local example. From 1960 to 2000, 60,000 white people moved out of Wyandotte County. 60,000, that's a third of the population moved out, and 30,000 people of other ethnicities moved in. We went with a net loss of 30,000 people into our city, and we went from 20% above the median household income to 20% below the median household income. Significant socioeconomic change in Wyandotte County. Now what's interesting about that 30,000 fewer people, that represents about 10,000 empty homes. Think about that number, 10,000 empty homes. And what happens to a home without a family? It starts to fall down. 3 years of neglect in a house and it falls down. Is there one near you? Yes. Your Commissioner Brian McKiernan has a map of every property in his district and what's happened to it. So when you have 30,000 empty homes, supply and demand, economics 101, property values plummet, right? Because there's more stock than you can sell. And the city gradually over time increased the property tax rate to capture the loss of valuation. And that's how our property taxes ended up the highest in the metro area, because as the flood of empty houses came on the market, the values went down, the property rate went up. And so now we see ourselves upside down in a lot of ways in terms of too high of a property tax rate and a lot of vacant and empty and falling down homes, or just plain vacant lots. The unified government currently, and what happens to a lot when they walk away from it? The unified government inherits it. So we currently own about 6,000 empty lots. If you want one, we can give you a good price. But we have about, if you'll mow it, we'll give it to you. But we have about 6,000 empty lots. So when you look at the challenges we have, I offer that as an explanation, and I think it's an interesting socioeconomic explanation, but it's impactful in terms of the kind of things we're doing. The turnaround, though, has been spectacular. 40% of all jobs created in the metropolitan area in the last year were created in Wyandotte County. We've built 6 new grocery stores in the last 8 years, the first new grocery stores in 30 years in our community. The new apartments out west at Village West are the first new market rate apartments, which mean full rate, unsubsidized apartments in this county in 30 years. So there's a lot of positive things happening, but we need to do more. The grocery store at 18th and I-70. Do you remember what was there?
Yeah.
It was a truck stop and a hotel, right? We could have put that property to corn and improved our community, yes? But instead, we put a beautiful new development. It was a public-private investment. The city put a lot of money into that, as did the private developer. And now we have a really thriving area that helps to anchor our urban center. We need to do more of that because those kind of quality developments are positive. When we asked Associated Wholesale Grocers to look at grocery stores, they came up with a remarkable fact. This was the discovery of their research. Are you sitting down? It turns out people in Wyandotte County buy groceries. What? They just don't buy them here. They're driving to other communities that have nice grocery stores with the selection and price that they want, because if we don't offer it locally, who wants to shop in a dingy, rundown grocery store? Turns out no one. And so when they looked at the market, they're saying, well, they're not selling a lot of groceries here. It's because we didn't have the quality of stores. The biggest regret that Sunfresh has out here at 18th and I-70 is they didn't build it larger, because it is maxed out in terms of sales, and they are doing great, which is a good opportunity that says we can build other urban grocery stores. So I want you to look at the opportunity tonight. I want you to think about what it is that you'd like to see in your community in District 2. We're going to tabulate all this information and get it back to you, but mostly we're here to listen. And so we want to hear your feedback on how you would balance it, because we have to do this at home. We have to balance our checkbook at home every day, don't we? And we have to do the same thing at the unified government. I just wish that it was more. To give you some perspective, $12 million is a lot of money to me. Is it a lot of money to you? It represents about 4% of the total budget of the unified government. We have a $300 million budget at the unified government. So while this is a lot of money, it's not a lot of money. So we need to make good decisions for the maximum impact to improve our community with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I'm glad you're here. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy Cash to talk about how the process is going to work tonight, because we have found the process we've set up is a very successful way to hear feedback from folks. Because if you just have an open mic and people come talk, all the extroverts talk, like me, and all the quiet folks, like my son, don't say a word. We want to hear from all of you, and we found that this small group setup helps us get input from everyone in the group, and not just the loudest among us. Amen? All right, thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had 10 great groups, and we had 10 sets of great facilitators and scribes. Let's first of all give them all a big hand for their work facilitating and scribing. It is hard work, I know it. All right, so let's bring up group number 3 first to give their report. Yes, that is you, Jeff. Please come up and tell us how you would spend $12 million and give us 2 or 3 themes as to why that was done.
Good evening. All right. Our group was not the biggest group, but very well organized, and their thoughts were well thought out and well presented. So what we looked at, as everyone else did, is how you spend the $12 million. So property tax, we're going to put a little over $3 million toward the property tax. Now, we know that's not going to be a large impact on anybody, but what it will do is a symbolic gesture that shows the direction we want to see the property tax go, which is down. Demo, put about just under $1,800,000. That would be 80 houses a year. Code enforcement, we had more, and then we decided to reallocate, and we dropped that down to $300,000. Streets, just a little under $2 million, because we understand the importance. This group was big about streets, sidewalks, curbs. You know, we have to maintain our infrastructure of our city. Mowing, snow removal were smaller amounts, about $250,000 each. Aging services, about $1.5 million, because we are seeing an aging population in our city. Personal property, that's where we took the money from code enforcement and reapplied it to personal property to increase the number of people at the annexes and the others at downtown, and maybe some more kiosks, so it makes it quicker for people to get their tags done. For parks, quite a bit, $1.4 million for parks. And there was a question about, are there any dog parks in Wyandotte County? And if so, where are they? And also more soccer areas. We're seeing the growth of interest in soccer and the futsal areas. Police, fire department, you know, there's a small portion in there, a little under $500,000 for each. And then our other category had $750,000, and that was for the sidewalks and curbs, and also fitness facility. So my group did a wonderful job, and I really appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Great job, Group 3. Okay, could I please have Group number 5 come on up and give their report? Group 5. You can bring it to me after, Rena.
Well, we had a really great group, and we talked a lot about trade-offs and priorities, and really had an easy time coming to consensus. I think people really agreed around priorities that relate to quality of life and making our community more sellable to outsiders and more pleasant for people that live here already. We thought a lot about children and safety, and I think that's what the budget reflects. So property tax relief, we came in at $2 million. Demolitions of residential and commercial properties, we came in at $700,000. Code enforcement at $300,000. Street resurfacing at $2 million. Mowing of vacant lots at $300,000. Snow removal, plowing and treatment at $500,000. Aging services, $500,000. Personal property auto registration, $200,000. Park improvements, $750,000. Police services, $1 million. Fire services, $600,000. And our group was very creative, and we thought of several other ways that we could spend some of this money, including a fund for home repair for low-income folks, for minor home repairs at $300,000. Again, improvements to sidewalks and curbs, and also bus shelters at $1 million. We'd like to put some money toward a grocery store, and there's a sense that we need higher quality grocery stores, and so we allocated $500,000 to that. And then we thought that for our youth, they need some things to do in their off time, and so we gave $1.3 million to youth services.
Okay, let's hear it for Group 5. Good job, Group 5. All right, let's hear now from Group number 9. Group number 9. Come on down. All right, just keep it going. After Group number 9, we're going to hear from Group number 1. So Group number 1, be on deck.
It's like the Price is Right or something.
Where's your costume?
All right. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so some of the themes that were really important to our group were obviously property tax, but beyond that, safety, Code enforcement, because they felt that that also was a big part of safety with the vacant homes that could be kind of dangerous. And then as well, aging services. So we had 2 million towards demolitions, 5 million towards the property tax. We had one holdout who wanted 2 million. Code enforcement, 1 million. Street resurfacing, 1 million. Mowing vacant lots, 300,000. Aging services, 700,000. Parks, police, and fire each received 250,000. And then they chose to use the other category for funding youth programming in the amount of 1.75 million. So. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Group number 9. Group number 1. Group number 1, it is now your turn. After group number 1 is group number 6. And group number 6 is on deck.
First of all, I have to say that I'm very proud of the group that I work with because they got their calculators out. They knew what they were doing. For tax relief purposes, it's 0. Demolition in residential commercial properties, $2 million. Code enforcement, 0. Street resurfacing, $2 million. Mowing vacant lots, $1 million. Snow removal, $500K. Aging services, $500K. Personal property registration, 0. Park improvements, $1.5 million. Police services, $1.8 million. Fire services, $1 million. That gives us a total of $10.3 million that we all agree upon. And that left a nice amount of for other purposes. And during the first year, now this group got down to first year, second year, third year. So for the first year, they allocated 1.7 to others, and alley improvements, curbside and sidewalks, body cameras, and employee wages would be where they would use that money. But second year and third year, that amount would go from 1.7 to 3.7 and more. And security in the alley improvements was at the top of their list. So that's what they did, and thank you very much for their participation.
Very good job, group number 1. Okay, group number 6, you are up, and on deck is group number 10.
So this group had a really great conversation, and really proud of how they were able to have this conversation. And it really was a perfect example of what civil discourse looks like. To start, property tax relief, the group allocated $3 million for relief. The second largest item on our list of the things that were named were aging services. And actually, aging was the only category in which every person had named a specific dollar amount in that group. So we felt that they wanted to reflect that. So $2 million for aging. Street resurfacing, we came in at $1 million. And police services for $1 million. So that's $7 million, 7 of the 12. A lot of the conversation and most of the interest was garnered by other. And so as a result, there are a couple of categories that kind of got together. So you notice that we hadn't mentioned anything about demolition, but the group really had a conversation about what happens after you demo a house. And why do we only have to demo? So they combined demo and they created another for rehab. That was $3 million for that. And there was a lot of interest with regards to, like, do we do, focus on parks and healthy campus? And so the idea was, there was a lot of interest around healthy campus, and like, let's just combine healthy campus with parks. And so the group is allocating $2.2 million for healthy campus. We thought, I like that. Woo! So, but that's our 12 million.
Thank you, group 6. And now if we could hear from group number 10. Group number 10 and group number 8 is up on deck.
Thanks, Cindy. I as well had a great time facilitating our group, and thanks to our participants. There was one theme that emerged pretty quickly, and it laid over our entire discussion, and that was the strategy really between spending a dollar now and being able to leverage that in future years. And so that laid across all of our areas. But as we narrowed down the discussion, our group decided to spend $3 million on property tax reduction. There was a recognition that although that would equate to a pretty minimal impact for the average homeowner, it was much needed and important symbolic gesture towards property tax relief for residential business owners. Another $2 million was pointed at demolition for removal of blight. And then in codes, and I just wrote this, one gentleman in our group, as we got to codes, he asked the question, do we really have a codes department? So it's up here, but with no dollar amount allocated there. Parks, the group decided to spend $1 million there with an emphasis on park facilities east of 635 and not on necessarily the construction of new parks, but reinvestment in the infrastructure and the cleanliness of the existing parks. And Waterway Park was used as an example of how investment in that asset has really spurred development in that entire neighborhood. Police and fire, $1 million each, but with a very strong emphasis on that $1 million being spent towards equipment and not personnel. Cost of living increase for UG employees, got $1 million. Street resurfacing, another $1 million. And then our reserves was in the other category for $2 million. And that's how we spent our $12 million. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Group 10. Now we're going to hear from Group 8. And next up after Group 8 will be Group number 2.
Group 8 did an excellent job of compromising. We had a lot of differences of opinion, but the group came together in an excellent way to create a really great budget here. The key themes that kind of came out of the conversations that we saw was job recruitment in the fire department, especially within Wyandotte County, recruiting in the county, and spending that on better equipment. That was kind of a factor within the fire and police force, I believe. Beautification and safety throughout the county. Improving and streamlining the process to start businesses within the county, and also more development in different areas. So as far as property tax relief, $3 million was dedicated to that. Demo, we originally had 0 for demo, but we instead went back and did $500,000. They did consider rehabilitation as well. I think one other group said that. For code enforcement, nothing allocated to code enforcement. Street resurfacing and mowing vacant lots, both $750,000. That's actually taking $1 million. They originally had $1 million. We took a little bit out and put that towards demo. Snow removal was 0. They said the county does a good job of that. Aging services was $500,000. Personal property and auto registration was 0. Park improvements, $2 million. Police services, $2 million. Fire services, $2 million. All of those were big themes, safety and beautification, as we discussed. And then we also had $500,000 dedicated to other, which was improving business services and community organizations, offering maybe grants towards those projects. So that's how we spent it. Thank you.
Okay, great job. And next up is Group number 2 with Group number 7 on deck.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Group 2. First, I want to congratulate, we had 2 young people in our group of 8 that actively participated, and so I want to congratulate those 2 young people. So let me share we had 8 people in our group, and let me share with you how we arrived at our numbers. Everyone in the group had a number for each of the categories. We took the total number from the group and divided by the number of people in the group to get an average allocation amount. So for property relief, the group's average allocation amount was a little over $2 million. For demolition of residential or commercial properties, the average was approximately $1.6 million. For code enforcement, $400,000, $750,000. Street resurfacing, $665,000, roughly. Mowing vacant lots, $382,250. Snow removal, plowing, and treatment, $571,250. Aging services, $693,750. Personal property, auto registration at the courthouse or at the annex, $97,500. Park improvements, a little over $1 million. Police services, $701,000. Fire services, $322,500. And then we had 7 areas under other, and these included planning, curbs and sidewalks, the healthy campus, animal control, fund balance, home repair, and the Quindaro ruins. Now, when we got to the other category, all of these numbers in the other category represented about $26 million. So I basically took all of the others and said, you have $3 million left, so you've got to divide that $3 million among all of these other categories in the other, and that's how the group distributed their money. Thank you.
Great, group number 2. Okay, now we're going to hear from group number 7, and last but certainly not least, group number 4. Be on deck.
All right, I had an awesome group to work with. So how we decided to divide our money up, we really wanted to focus upon property tax relief in Wyandotte County, particularly because my group focused on the fact that we wanted to bring residents into the Wyandotte County area and also businesses. So they wanted to distribute $4 million in property tax relief. Then they wanted to also, from there, we pretty much divided the money up evenly. For demos, we allocated $1 million. Code enforcement, $200,000. Streets repair, $1 million. Mowing services, $1 million. Snow removal, $500,000. Aging services, $800,000. Also, for the registration for automobiles, we allocated $500,000. Parks, $500,000. The police department, $500,000. The fire department, $1 million. And also the reserves, we allocated $1 million. We felt that it was really important to have that $1 million in reserves. My group also discussed Kansas regaining their AAA status. And so that's why we felt very strongly we needed to have something set aside. That's why we put that $1 million into the reserves. So in an effort to help the state of Kansas regain that AAA status, that's why we chose to do that. Now, we also had some other areas that we wanted to focus upon, but unfortunately we ran out of funds, something we know all too well sometimes. We wanted to focus on education, capital improvements, and also building maintenance. One of my group members discussed that, and down at the courthouse and also the fire department, there are some buildings that are deteriorating, and we also need to focus on repairing those buildings, because if we let those deteriorations go for too long, we're going to see that we're going to have to spend more money in the long run opposed to if we were to fix those repairs right now. So those were some things that we wanted to bring attention to, but unfortunately we just didn't have the money to spend at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, group number 7, and last but not least, group number 4.
You just want to give a speech. That's why I saved me for last. No.
my group, 5 people, very active, very engaged, very thoughtful in how they made their decisions. And I will say the theme that probably, or the principle that guided a lot of their decisions was they wanted to attract and retain the residents in Wyandotte County, and so they really put a premium on services. And they looked at that long list of services and projects that need to be done, and they said, we need to fund all of this. So they did not have any money reserved for property tax relief. Another flip side to that is they thought that the bang for the buck on the property tax relief, it was just going to require way too much money to even show a difference to the average property owner. So that was the logic behind that. So with that, here's what they decided. 0 again on property tax relief. I will say they recognized the value and the need for property tax relief and said in outlying years they would like to see that property tax relief happen. Demolition, $1.5 million. Code enforcement, $600,000. Street resurfacing, $1.5 million. Mowing, $400,000. Snow removal, $600,000. Aging services, $1 million. Personal property registration, $500,000. Park improvement, and here they had a stipulation specifically for youth. $1.5 million. Police, $700,000. Fire, $1 million. And they got we had a long list of other groups had. And again, this is along the lines of attracting and retaining residents. One project that came out of this was a farmer's market pavilion that would have a test kitchen and community garden money in there for $1.5 million. And then finally there was a recognition among some that the unified government needs to really upgrade its technology, so there's a $1.2 million in there for technology upgrades.
Wow, yay.
Okay, thank you, group number 4. Again, all of the groups did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a big round of applause, because I did get a chance to walk around and hear you, and as a gentleman said, it was true discourse tonight, so thank you so much. Thanks to the school personnel here tonight, all staying a little bit late, and the UG. Also, on the table outside, there are brochures from both Central Area Betterment Association and the Armourdale Renewal Association. These are great groups, as the mayor said earlier, so please pick up that information and know what these great groups do in your community. Again, with that, thank you so much, and let me turn it back over to the mayor to close out our evening.
All right, thank you very much. We also, and we were remiss earlier, but folks have been drifting in and out, but we have some additional elected officials here that I want to recognize. One of our presenters, of course, Jeff Bryant with the BPU, and we also have Norm Scott with the BPU, Senator Pat Petty with the state of Kansas, bless you. We know she tried. It wasn't because of lack of work from our delegation, I guarantee you that. We should give them a hand. Retired Judge Boating, thank you for being here. And former school district board member Linda Pendleton's here. So thank you all for the elected officials being here. But most of all, and this is the interest, we've had a lot of interest from elected officials from all the different groups who are very interested in what you have to say. And I think that's a very good sign. And so this forum is a great opportunity for you to give your input. And I've also found it feels a lot like, I remember the first time I was elected in 2007 as a commissioner, and I got the 3-inch binder for the budget, which was $300 million. It's about $1 million a page. And looking through that, it was overwhelming, but I learned a lot about the city services and the way we spent money, and really appreciated the value of our employees. We have 2,200 great employees at the Unified Government doing a lot of great things. So I appreciate very much your input tonight. We're going to consolidate this input, list it out, and what we did for the first group is you left your contact information. We will email it to you, or if you don't have email, we will mail it to you. So everyone here can see the full compendium of all the comments that were made in your group. And we're posting online every one of the groups. So you can go online to the Unified Government website. wicokck.org. There is a place for the listening tour. You can click on that, and you can see the information from the different sections. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is to seeing how much variance there is in priorities from different parts of our city. And one of the things I heard tonight, which is unique to this part of town, is alleys. Right? Those are a big deal in this part of town, aren't they? They're a big deal. There are parts of our towns that have no alleys.
Well, they don't know what they got.
And so that's exactly right. So it's not even on their radar screen in terms of our priority. So a big part of the value for us is to see where it is in different parts of our city, and also to give that feedback to the commissioners, because this is going to be valuable information for each of the commissioners in the district to see what your priorities are. So I can't thank you enough. It's an honor to see everyone here and to have the opportunity to serve in this capacity for our city. And I appreciate your staying informed and staying tuned. And we will continue this through December. And next summer is when we're putting this budget together. So really appreciate you all coming back. Give yourselves one big hand for all of your commitment to our city. Have a safe night and enjoy your evening.